As match day 1 draws to a close, it's time for me to lock in my match day 2 team. Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan, and with an injury to Mbappé potentially on the cards, there are some big decisions to be made. Okay, we are going to be setting up our matchday 2 teams today, as well as looking at the free transfers that I am going to be using ahead of this match day, with a lot of decisions to be made, as we kind of mentioned before, guys. Don't forget to like this video if you do enjoy this one, and do subscribe if you want more regular Euro content, because, yeah, we're absolutely smashing it on the fantasy content. So, let's get started and see what we have for matchday 2. Well, we can start off in goal with Pence, who is a goalkeeper who worked not perfectly last matchday, but 3 points against France was not too bad, and I actually thought Austria did quite well defensively, and you know, maybe a defensive dark horse to look out for the rest of the tournament. So I'm glad I did go for the 4 million goalkeeper. He did get a few save points there, but unfortunately the own goal in that game prevented him from getting any more points. But definitely some encouraging signs here, so I am definitely looking to see what he can produce. You know, a very differential goalkeeper against Poland with a 32% chance of a clean sheet in match day 2. That's very, very high indeed for a goalkeeper who is this cheap. Particularly if Lewandowski is out for another match day, this could be points. It could be points. And if not, that's fine. We'll go to our safer goalkeeper who is going to be on the bench. If you're watching the Euros on the go this summer, then you're going to appreciate today's video sponsor, Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN service that keeps your online identity safe by encrypting the information sent between your device and the internet. This keeps your personal data safe from the big companies and cyber criminals. I personally never log on to public Wi-Fi without first logging into Surfshark VPN, just for my own peace of mind. But not only that, Surfshark allows you to access content from around the world via servers in 100 different countries. If you're on vacation and want to access the sports coverage from back home, just like I did when I was in Spain last week, or maybe you want to access the sports channels from a different country, Surfshark is the way to go during the Euros. I'm very happy to be working with a company I already know and love, and bring you guys 4 months extra for free on your Surfshark VPN subscription when you use code FPL Mate. Or you can click on the link in the description or pinned comment to get started right away. Now, we won't be taking any risks with our devices, but sadly I can't say the same thing about our fantasy teams in matchday 2. So right now my defense looks like this. Mittelstadt against Hungary, which is very nice. 4 ball recoveries in the opening fixture. 50% clean sheet odds in this match day. That's actually the best of any team in match day 2. Germany, really nice defensive odds there. And I do think Mittelstadt was kind of unlucky in match day 1. The own goal was the only thing that stopped Germany from keeping a clean sheet. Scotland didn't even generate any XG in that game. So I think Germany could be an interesting defensive unit as we go through the tournament. And for 4 million, you can't really ask for much more than a defender who is likely to get clean sheet, does well for ball recoveries, and also lots of attacking opportunity for him. We have already got the leak that Germany are going to be starting again with the same lineup as they had in matchday 1, and therefore we've got ourselves another matchday of the great bargain defender. Widmer is in this team as well as my second defender. 40% clean sheet odds for Switzerland against Scotland, which again is very, very good indeed. That's some of the highest odds we've seen throughout this match day. And Widmer obviously playing very high on that right hand side. Only 1 point in match day 1, which was disappointing for Switzerland to concede against Hungary. You know, they did very well in the first half. The second half of the season, conceding that goal was a little unfortunate for them, but that is just football. And I do think Widmer, if he goes through another match day, doesn't get his yellow card, doesn't get his early substitution, we could be looking at a few points here from him. I definitely think with the clean sheet odds and the attacking potential that Widmer does offer high up on that right hand side, we've definitely got some points on the cards, particularly as Scotland expected to concede goals as well as lack scoring in this game as well. So actually a defender I'm very, very happy I went with in matchday 1. Didn't work out in matchday 1, but I'm happy to have him now. I think a Swiss defender is going to be really useful to have, and something that not too many people will have as well. Some of you guys might have a Kanji and Share, 2 other defenders I love for matchday 2. And DeMarco is the player who I was originally planning on transferring out for Guardiola for this match day. That's why we left our 0.5 million budget in the bank to make that upgrade, I suppose, with Italy facing Spain. Although I have to say, DeMarco, 23% clean sheet odds in match day 2 is not as bad as, you know, I thought it was going to be. So maybe a 1 in 4 chance of getting a clean sheet here. But it's going to be a tough game. But typically in these games between big teams, we often do see low scoring affairs. And honestly, what are we hoping for, really? We're hoping for potential attacking returns with DeMarco on the set pieces. Of course, he did make the throw-in mistake for the goal conceded against Albania. Another real unfortunate situation. We've seen Mittelstadt, DeMarco lose their clean sheets in super unfortunate circumstances, as with Pence as well. It seems like everyone is scoring own goals or making huge mistakes, leading to their teams conceding goals in these freak circumstances. Surely it can't continue, and we might be able to get a few more points moving forward. But DeMarco, definitely a player I'm thinking about removing for this match day. Now, the midfield is interesting. I think Florian Wirtz is a player I'm very happy I went with in the end. 7.5 million midfielder there against Hungary. And just like we have Germany with the best clean sheet odds for match day 2, we also have them for the best goal scoring odds as well. They're expected to score 2.5 goals against this Hungary team, who really struggled in the first half against Switzerland. And you imagine a German team, if Hungary play the same way as they did in the first half against Switzerland, they're going to be in big trouble against Germany, who have an amazing amount of attacking talent in their team. So the Germany defense and the Germany attack is something I very much want to get involved in. So far, I have Wirtz and Mittelstadt, but I do think I need to add another Germany defender or attacker, considering they have great odds on either side. Trying to play the numbers here, trying to play a very straightforward and sensible game to try and get those points in that respect. Szoboszlai has a fixture against Germany, against that team with the high clean sheet odds, and you do have to wonder, is he going to get any attacking returns in this match day? Well, he got an assist in match day 1, which was pretty nice. And I do think if anyone is going to score against Germany, well, Szoboszlai is probably going to be involved. So there are some benefits to him there. Shaqiri was a big disappointment in match day 1, sorry. It's definitely a case where we expected him to play, given that he was playing fairly consistently for Switzerland prior to the start of the tournament. But no minutes in match day 1 is definitely a big warning sign. It's a big worry. So Shaqiri, penalty taker, free kick taker, corner kick taker, it's only good and it's only useful if he's on the pitch. And so far, he hasn't been on the pitch. Of course, guys, if you did go for Shaqiri, I do think you can count yourself a little bit unlucky. But we did say, in fairness, when we spoke about Shaqiri, is that he is a high-risk, high-reward player playing early on in the match there. And that's exactly what we're going to get again this game week. If you're asking me if I think Shaqiri is going to start or not in match day 2, I would say that it is probable that he will not start. I do still think he could get some points off the bench, and I do still think there is a chance of him starting, but is that enough to convince me to keep him? Should I just cut my losses on this one and try and go for some maybe safer players at a similar price? If I'm totally honest, guys, there's not too many safe players at that price range, so it might have to be that Shaqiri is just our midfield enabler, slightly cheaper player, who we kind of accept. Yes, it could go very well, but also it might not go well, and if it doesn't, well, that's what our substitutes are for, so we'll take it and roll with it like that. More discussion on transfers coming up very, very shortly. And Saka is our final player. I think very impressive in the opening fixture against Serbia. He was definitely one of England's better attackers alongside Bellingham. Obviously, Saka and Bellingham, the two guys with the goal contributions there. Although you have to say, maybe England's defence is a little bit more trustworthy right now. That said, because of Saka's great performance in the match day 1, I think he is going to be starting again, and I think he is going to be impactful again. Hopefully England can start to get things to click a little bit more in the second game, and if they do, you would imagine Saka is going to be involved once again, proving once again Saka is just consistently involved in England goals. It's Saka and Kane seem to be the two most consistent guys, and I think Bellingham will come into that conversation as well as we move through the tournament, but it seems to be Saka and Kane, Bellingham. These are the England attackers that you want, and I think all of them are great picks that you can pretty much play in any match day, even though Denmark is going to be on paper a tougher opposition than the opening game against Serbia. Let's see what happens there. Mbappé is the headline right now, so I think we'll talk about Ronaldo and Lukaku first. So Ronaldo, at time of recording, has not played yet, so I don't know how well he has done in the first game against the Czech Republic, Czechia, but I have captained Ronaldo, so fingers crossed he's done quite well for me by the time you guys are watching this video. But yes, against Turkey, it's another good opportunity. Portugal are expected to score, I believe, the second or third most goals. I believe it's third most goals in matchday 2. 2 predicted goals against Turkey. And if Portugal are gonna, two goals are gonna be scored by Portugal. You would imagine Ronaldo maybe gets one of them, and we've got Lukaku. I know a lot of people are really, really disappointed in, and I completely understand why. Let's just talk about Lukaku briefly here, because I've already seen a lot of comments, a lot of tweets and stuff like that saying, oh, Lukaku was always a terrible pick, he is an awful player, blah, 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 blah. I mean, he scored 17 goals in 12 games since the last World Cup, where he was injured through that World Cup. So I think, he has shown a history of scoring a lot of goals. If you guys watched the game of Lukaku against Slovakia there, you will probably have seen that, actually he played pretty well in general. We saw him had 2 goals disallowed, one for a marginal offside and another one because a player in the build-up of play, I think it was a Pender, in the build-up, slightly handballed the ball, kind of just drifted off his fingers, just grazed off his fingers. So really unlucky from Lukaku to have 2 goals disallowed in that game. Also had 3 other huge opportunities to score. Maybe the ball escaped him a little bit on those occasions. So we've seen that Lukaku is still very much the centerpiece of this Belgium attack. On another day, he scores a hat-trick in that game. So I think there's been very positive signs. I know that's no use when we want points, don't we? We don't want positive signs, we want points. But when we're trying to look forward to what's going to happen next, well, positive signs are very, very useful to have. And I think Lukaku is definitely still a player who I hold in very high regard. I was looking through the odds again today. Belgium, second best goal-scoring odds for Matchday 2. And again, if anyone's scoring for Belgium, it's going to be Lukaku. So if you guys are upset about Lukaku moving forward, then that's fair enough. You don't have to have him. You don't have to keep him. You can sell him if you want. You can leave him on your bench if you want to. But for me personally, I've seen enough positive signs, not just in one match day, which, by the way, guys, one match day. If you've been playing fantasy games before, you guys will know about variance and how it's easy to predict things when we're looking at a larger sample size. I think when we get to the end of the Euros, we'll probably see Lukaku with a few goals and we'll say, yeah, that kind of adds up. But, when you're trying to predict individual games, it's a little bit more difficult. We need a slightly larger sample size before we can kind of say whether Lukaku was a success or not. And one thing I do want to make sure I'm not doing is overreacting to match day 1, because there was a lot of kind of freak circumstances in match day 1 that you cannot necessarily predict to have every match day. We're not going to see as many own goals every match day. We're not going to see as many huge mistakes from goalkeepers like Lunin, for example. We're not going to see that every match day, and we're not going to see 2 goals ruled out for marginal offsides or disallowed for marginal handballs every game. It happens sometimes. It's not going to happen all the time, and I think we can take some positivity from Lukaku's opening performance, and that's certainly what I'm going to choose to do. I'm going to choose to be positive about that one, because actually everything, all of the data, all of the stats, all of what I've seen with my eyes as well, points towards Lukaku continuing to be a good fantasy asset. So that's all I'm going to say on that one. Let's move on to Mbappé. So yeah, certainly Mbappé is a worry ahead of matchday 2. He's broken his nose. That's the headline here, guys. Mbappé has broken his nose in the game against Austria, and therefore it is expected that he is probably going to miss at least one game for France. He might miss a couple of games. We do expect him to see him back before the end of the tournament wearing a mask. Early predictions are that he'll be back during the quarterfinals. So yeah, if you are planning on holding your wild card until the quarterfinals, that might be an advantage to you to be able to get Mbappé back into your team very, very quickly and easily there. So yeah, that's definitely something to think about. But right now, I personally don't think Mbappé is going to play in matchday 2. Of course, we'll wait and look for any news that comes out over the next day, but right now it's not looking good. And in fact, at that kind of price, Mbappé is probably a player we want to sell, particularly as there are a few other forwards who I think are great options to go ahead of matchday 2 as well. So those are the starting 11 players I have right now. I want to go to my bench where we see Costa, great backup for Pens. Again, Portugal not with great clean sheet odds, 36% clean sheet odds for Portugal. But I do still like the fact that I have my risky goalkeeper playing first and then my kind of my safe goalkeeper goalkeeper playing next. But, you know, there's not too much difference between the clean sheet odds between these two goalkeepers. So we could get something from Pence. You know, let's see what happens there. Bruno Fernandes, always going to be a good pick as well, as long as he doesn't get injured or anything tonight. And we've got Face and De Kuiper on the bench there as well. Face did really well in match day 1. Despite conceding the goal, he did get enough ball recoveries in that game, or actually kind of worked quite well. Belgium, actually, by the way, 44% clean sheet odds. That is the third best for matchday 2, only behind Germany and Croatia. So that is something to keep an eye on. But De Kuiper, no minutes played in matchday 1. I was really disappointed by that one. And if I'm totally honest, I was shocked by that one, because Carrasco playing left back in a flat back 4 is something I never saw coming. That is not something that has happened before, but you can't predict everything in football. We do our best to predict things, and, you know, the good thing about Euro Fantasy is that you can take risks like De Kuiper. You can take risks like Shaqiri, because if it doesn't work out, that's what our substitutes are for. Although I have to say, I'm not sure I'm feeling the same way about De Kuiper in matchday 2, and I want to talk about why. So looking at my team immediately, we've got to use our 2 free transfers, and there are 5 players I've identified as players who I would be willing to sell. Players that I would happily remove from my team right now. 2 of them are fixture related. Szoboszlai and DeMarco both have pretty weak fixtures, and therefore, or weak fixtures, poor fixtures against tough oppositions, and therefore I think both of them could be sacrificed quite easily. So any of you guys who have Szoboszlai and DeMarco, you know, definitely can consider removing these players. Although I just think I have bigger issues right now. Mbappé is a bigger issue. If he's not going to play, he is the #1 player to sell this week, and there's no doubt about that. And De Kuiper is a big sell as well, because De Kuiper, he plays on the final day of the match day. So it's going to be a case of, even if, you know, all of my other defenders only score 1 or 2, 3 points, they do really badly, can I even afford to bring De Kuiper on for one of them? Because if De Kuiper is just going to be sat on the bench, I won't know about it. He'll be my last chance saloon, and I might be locked in to a De Kuiper 0-pointer. That's definitely not something I want. We saw Carrasco play the first game. We see the likes of Teat, you know, really progressing in his recovery as well. So we could see De Kuiper benched once again and could be on for a 0 or 1-pointer, which is something we really don't want to see. And I don't think I would actually even consider bringing him off my bench in matchday 2, full stop. So he is pretty much useless to me as a fantasy asset. Same with Mbappé. If Mbappé is injured, if De Kuiper is getting a max 1 point, both of these players are useless to me in this match day. So even though Szoboszlai doesn't have a great fixture, well, he's still a good player, and it can, you know, the top players can perform against anyone. We've got DeMarco, again, bad fixture, but still, you know, 23% clean sheet odds and a set piece taker. You've always got a chance there. And Shaqiri, definitely a player I would be strongly considering selling if it was not for the Mbappé injury. However, if Shaqiri starts against Scotland, or even gets, you know, 30 minutes against Scotland, that is probably going to be enough for him to get an attacking return in the game. And therefore, I would be kicking myself if I sold Shaqiri and he ended up banging, because it's definitely a possibility. Now, the chances might be low, but there's a possibility. And I think there's more to be said about something like that for Shaqiri than there is with Jorginho or Rodri, these other cheap players that a lot of people have. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah, they might do really poorly, only score 1 point. They might score a few points, or they might do really, really well. And I think Shaqiri has that potential, no matter how low the chance is, which you could say, again, the same with Jorginho's and the Rodris of Euro Fantasy as well. So I think the fact that Shaqiri plays so early on in the match day, plays on day 1, we might even get early team news on stream, guys, to see if he will be playing or not. I think he's probably the player I keep. I don't want to take any -4s to make additional transfers. Mbappé and De Kuiper seem really obvious to me as the 2 players to remove. So I think that's what we're going to be doing, guys. So I would be bringing in Havertz and Gvardiol. Gvardiol, obviously, because Croatia have really nice clean sheet odds against Albania. Whether Gvardiol plays at left back or centre back, I honestly don't mind, because he does really well for ball recoveries when he plays in the centre back position. And when he's at left back, well, he charges up the pitch and has the potential to score some goals there. Always a threat from all positions, no matter where he's playing on the pitch as well. Always has that potential for attacking returns, whether that's through set pieces or whatever. So a player I'm reasonably confident I would like to have in my team. And I've been able to make the De Kuiper upgrade to Guardiola by going for Havertz as my Mbappé downgrade. And what that does is allows me to get my third German player. And I think that's definitely something I'd like to do. Anyone with only 1 or 2 Germany players, I would try and get that third man in. And I think Kai Havertz and Musiala will probably be the 2 top transfer targets for Germany. I do like Rudiger as well, though, if you can afford to go there. But yeah, certainly getting that triple Germany, I think it's going to be really nice ahead of Hungary. So this is going to be my team. Captain's a little bit different this match day. Florian Wirtz's probably going to be my first captain. I think we're going to go a little safer this match day for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because there's only 4 captains we can have. There's only 4 days of game, so only 4 captains available to us in match day 2. So going a little safer on a Wirtz or maybe a Havertz is probably a better idea than going for a Mittelstat, who does still offer some high risk, high reward value. Just not sure I'm as willing to go there this time. Saka is my day 2 captain. Yeah, he's fine, I suppose. You know, not too bad, but he's certainly not someone we could be super confident in. Again, why I prefer to go safe on day 1. And day 3 is a really interesting one because basically, guys, there's not too much going for captaincy. On day 3, that's the day where we have Slovakia versus Ukraine, we have Poland versus Austria, and we have Netherlands versus France. Of course, Netherlands players, probably not going to captain them against France. France players, well, we have Mbappé, but if you're selling him, unless you've got a France defender, maybe a Saliba or a Magnon or a Hernandez, potentially, those players I would definitely consider captaining. Outside of that, there's really not too much going on for day 3. So, yeah, I'm kind of forced to go for Pence. He's my only option. He's my only player who plays on the 21st. And that brings us to Ronaldo as our final captain. Of course, we've had a little rejig of our players. Lukaku's gone to the bench to start ourselves off. Lots of players playing on the 22nd. So, if anyone does not perform, you know, if Shaqiri lets me down, if Szoboszlai or DeMarco let me down, we have got those nice backup options on the bench there. Strong backup options as proven by matchday 1 in my opinion as well. So I can go into matchday 2 pretty confident, I think. I think my team's still looking really, really strong in general. Some weaknesses, Shaqiri, Szoboszlai, DeMarco, but you can't have the perfect team every week unless you're choosing to use your chips every week. And I'm not going to be choosing to do that, as I do want to save my wild card for matchday 5, yes, for matchday 5. But Limitless coming in matchday 3, so that's going to be very, very exciting indeed. Only have to deal with this minor issues that can honestly be corrected with substitutes anyway. Only have to deal with them for the matchday 2, and then we're back in business in matchday 3, and things are going to look very, very good indeed. So there we go, guys. That is my team. Guys, let me know how you got on in matchday 1, as well as any questions you have related to matchday 2. I'll be happy to answer them. Make sure you drop a like. Do subscribe if you haven't done already. Check out my Limitless and wildcard draft if you haven't done already as well. And thank you so much for watching once again, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.